Hey everyone, we are live with Phys Ed Summit 2.0 and we're very excited to be here and very excited to start this journey with everyone. So just a little bit of housekeeping before I introduce our special guest for the day, or I guess for the hour, maybe for the day. So just a reminder that we are streaming 4 to 5 live videos at a time. So if for some reason we get kicked out because we're all streaming from the Phys account, please just be patient with us, and we'll get that link up on the conference program right away once we kind of figure out what's going on. So please just be patient with us with that. And first and foremost, we want to thank you, the participants, for taking the time to attend the summit. As Amanda said in her keynote, our students matter, and the fact that you've all taken your Saturday morning, some of you are up fairly early, like me on West Coast, 7 a.m., so we really appreciate your dedication to your students and to becoming the best phys ed teacher or teacher in general that you can be. So, you know, this is an amazing phys ed community and we're really excited to be a part of it. We'd like to thank Spark for their sponsorship of the Phys Ed Summit 2.0. Spark is a research and evidence-based program and a partner with San Diego State University, and also a really strong supporter of online physical education professional development opportunities. You can visit Spark's website, sparkpe.org, to learn more about Spark PE teacher resources, on-site workshops, content-matched equipment, webinars, everything. So they've got a lot of great stuff going on. Spark has also graciously donated some more raffle prizes, again, just like last time, and they're fantastic prizes. Spark Dance DVD, a digital physical education program where you can get it all up, have it up on your iPad and use it. It's pretty fantastic. One Summer Institute registration, which if you have not attended one of these, they are going to be awesome. Not just because I'm running some of them, but they're going to be fantastic. So if you win that prize, that's pretty exciting. And then a $150 gift certificate to the Spark store. So we thank Spark very, very much for the opportunity to use these raffle tickets or raffle prizes for you. So how do you get one of those raffle prizes? All you have to do is fill out the conference survey that we'll have at the very end. You'll get your certificate of attendance where you can write down the PDUs that you've done. So if you watch all 9 of our sessions for the Phys Ed Summit, then you can add that number in, and there you go. It's all ready for you, and it's personalized. So all you have to do is fill in that feedback survey for us, and then your name will automatically be put into the draw for those raffle prizes. One last thing. This time we planned it out, so we had block 1, a little brain booster, because the majority of us will be sitting down. I should have tried to figure out a standing table in here for myself, but unfortunately I am sitting down. So for me this will be perfect because I can kind of jump up when I'm getting ready with Jody for my next session. We can get up and do some activities with Spark. So Jeff Mushkin, the Director of Development for Spark, is leading a great little brain booster session. And a hint as well, and a fun little tip, is that he had his kids involved too. So it's going to be super fun. I'm really excited. I haven't had a chance to check it out yet, so it'll be cool to see what he's got planned. All right, so without further ado, man of the hour, Marcus Down. Welcome, Marcus. Very excited to have you here. Marcus is a primary years program PE specialist at the York School in Toronto, Canada for grades 3 to 5. He has most recently taught homeroom grade 3 and whole school PE at an international school in Hong Kong. He has his Master's of Arts in Kinesiology from the University of Victoria. Marcus's area of research was on social development of children in a PE setting, specifically examining an indoor adventure curriculum. Since joining a Google school in 2013, Marcus has become passionate about Google Apps for Education and how it can enhance the learning experience for students. All right, Marcus, you are up.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, very excited.
As you can see, my daughter is with me for the moment, and I had to mute that microphone there for a bit, so hopefully you didn't hear any cries.
No, it was good.
Okay, awesome. So I'm just going to, welcome everyone, and I've got a very fancy slideshow for you prepared, and then as I was telling Naomi, I'm going to be kind of bouncing around through my slideshow because with Google Apps for Education, I find that they're very, very similar in terms of what's happening, and they all kind of blend together nicely. So I'm going to just start it out right now here.
Say, while you're doing that, I'd also like just to let everybody know too, if you have questions, please use the Today's Meet channel or tweet at me on Twitter. I have a dual screen happening on my other computer. So just let me know, and Marcus is willing to kind of answer as we go. So that's really exciting. So we can kind of, your questions can help drive his presentation. So if you have any questions, please let me know, and I'll fire them off to him.
All right. So thanks, Naomi. I'm just going to. This isn't in present mode, but I'm going to leave it like this just because I can kind of navigate up top what's going on.
Absolutely, that's perfect.
As you can see, so obviously this is Google Apps for Education, or GAF, or GAFE, however you want to say it, or GAFE. Did I say that? I spelled that right, yeah.
Yep.
And that encompasses a lot of different things. So today we are going to, I have 3 things down here, and the show and share is going to be probably 95% of what happens today. And again, please ask questions throughout. I'm happy to stop or come back to whatever is needed. So first off is who am I, and then just the basics, kind of just show you how to navigate a little bit, and then just show and share and how I use it in my my classes. So the who am I didn't realize that was so in depth, what was written. So just the big thing that I want to just point out is that I was using Gmail maybe since 2010, and then I didn't use any other type of Google app. Well, I guess YouTube now, but I wasn't using any type of Google app until the fall of 2013. So I've literally been working with these tools for 18 months or so. So this is it's new to me, but I think you put the time in, and everything kind of works out, I think, in the end once you see how everything works. So moving on to the basics, as you can see, I'm just going to kind of play around on my screen here, and you can kind of see what's out there. So for example, we have Chrome. So Google Chrome is kind of like the Netscape navigator that you use, well, what I used when I was young, to the Internet Explorer, to the Safari, and now we're using Chrome, which is Google. So within Chrome, of course, you have your drive. So there's the big drive, which we're very keen about. That just encompasses everything. So this is how I organize my life, essentially. So you'll see everything on here. Everything is in folders. And the best part is that I don't have to get an external hard drive and save this anywhere. This is on here until pretty much for life, essentially. So it's great, and it's I believe in Google Schools it's like unlimited. Is that, Naomi? Do you know that?
Sorry, say that again.
Do you know if it's unlimited, the storage? I have 27 gigs used, so I think it's unlimited, but I could be wrong.
It used to be 15 gigs, and I think they've kind of upped it now to, I don't know how much it is, but it's a lot. So yeah. I did everything because I used Google Apps with my school because we were a Google Apps for Education school as well. And yeah, I'm sure I had probably, if not 30. Right. I had a lot of stuff on mine. So yeah, right. It's quite a bit of storage.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention that. So my school, obviously, it's powered by Google, as you can see in that corner here. Mm-hmm. We are a Google school, and everything is run on Google, which is excellent. Just to take you through, so I'm just going to go here and just take a look at the app. So, I mean, Google Plus, again, social media, essentially. Oh, I didn't mean to click on that. Sorry. We also have sites, which we'll talk a little bit about. Drive, of course, is kind of pretty much what drives everything. Calendar, I'm not going to talk about Calendar, but it's also a very good tool to have. Gmail or Mail. Docs, Sheets, Slides. I'm going to talk about all those things. And of course, there's more things here. So Classroom as well. I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well. So there's a lot going on. I think I would just encourage you just to play around, and for those of you that haven't, for those of you that have, I'm sure I'm boring you, but we will move on a little bit.
I was going to say, there's a question from Mary. She just said, what's the best way to organize Google folders? And then another one was, Joe had just said that, yeah, Google Apps for Education is unlimited. So there you go.
Yeah, I think that was a recent change.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of organizing the folders, I think you make the folders. I think that's the key here, is just to make the folders, because you'll see that. So for example, I have PE for this year, for example. So I have folders for this year, and then you'll notice I have some things that aren't actually in folders, and those are either not used very much or just wasn't good on my part, I guess, to put in a folder. But I like to organize by literally just like units. So if I have a net wall, we're doing a unit of inquiry on Renaissance, and I'm trying to connect with that. So I just go by unit. That's essentially what I do there. Everything. I think the key is just to make the folders, and then I'm not sure. I think it organizes itself after you've made the folders.
Right, and I know what I've seen from some people too is that they've had it set up like class-wise. So they've had a folder for each of their classes, and then when their classes change, they've kind of moved things around. So really, it's whatever workflow works best for you, I'd say.
Right, so I can show you. Yeah, I'll kind of show you a little bit. So I have just some assessments in there, but you'll kind of see later on how I've organized some of the folders in terms of how I'm taking assessments and whatnot. And that's what I've done as I've organized them with classes. I find that works well too. Yeah. Okay, so that's kind of just like a really brief look. Just kind of take you through what's going on there. And just to get familiar with the symbol, this is actually the old Google site symbol right here. This, of course, is Forms, Sheets, Google Classroom, Slides, Chrome, Drive, and then Docs. So this is kind of what I'm going to be talking about today. And then, yeah, just ask me questions as I go. So,
absolutely.
I guess the first thing that I will show you is, so Docs, Sheets, and Forms. These are three things that I use really, really often. And there's many ways to use them, but I think the ultimate goal for me is to use them in a way that I can actually collect information from my students, whether that's, checking for understanding, or it's just to even get to know the students or find out, did they actually like that unit? Can they give me some feedback on what I can do to guide this unit next year? So there's a lot of ways that we can do that. So how I'm going to start today is I am going to just kind of show you how I've used Docs. So I've used Docs in a number of ways, but I'm going to show you just a few ways that I've used Docs. And yeah, so here we go. So if you are making a doc, you just go to New within your Drive account, and just you click on Google Docs, and you're going to get something like so. So the key to this is naming the doc so that you can actually put it somewhere. And sharing is also an issue too, if you want to share it. So I'm just going to say right here. So if I want to share this, for me, I always, depending on what it is actually, sorry, right now only people at my school can see this. But when you have children signing in and out of Docs, it can be very time consuming. So what I usually do is I will go anyone with the link. That's generally what I do. I don't usually do public on the web. I just do anyone with the link. Because if they have the link, I've given it to them.
Right, and one thing that I find too with that is that I want to be careful with what I do with some stuff as well, especially if it's like with my students. So I'll try and keep it just within like our district or division so that I don't share that link with or making it public on the web, right? Because you might have students' names or things like that. So I try and keep it where only the people with the link have access to it or whatnot.
Definitely. Yeah, and again, it really depends on what it is. Like if it's a kid's photo with their name on it, probably not the best thing to
Right. Yeah.
so there's a doc, and I'm gonna just kind of show you. Got so many things open up there. So I'm gonna
Looks
show
like my
you.
computer.
Yeah. Um, sorry, and oh, I think I closed that, so that's okay. So we can start with the. I'll start with my portfolio. So I've kind of taken the idea from Andy Vasily because I remember a few years ago I saw on his website, which I'm sure all of you have seen, PYP with Andy, or PUIPP with Andy, sorry, that he has this really extensive portfolio where it's really in depth, and the students are really showing what they've learned and what they know. And I I loved it. I mean, I still love it. I think it's great. And I was always wondering, like, how can we make it so that it is digital? And how do
Hmm.
we? Because I always cringe when I see those old folders and they're just beat up and they're not really. Kids don't like seeing those rolled out in class, from my experience. Like
Yeah.
you know. So the idea was to come up with some sort of portfolio that was digital.
Hmm.
So right here is kind of just a template. So what I would do with this template is I would share it with all my students, and then depending on the year, uh, they would they would get this through. There's so much to say, but I don't want to. So you can share this in a number of ways. You can share it either Doctopus, or which is an add-on through Sheets, or our school actually uses Hapara, and Hapara is simply. I'm not going to show you too much in depth because of all the students' names on here, but it looks like this. I click on this class, and what will come up is all the students' names, and then there'll be a little button here, and I'll click just a sheet, and it's just, essentially it's just going to share the document with everyone. So it's almost like Doctopus, but on steroids. Can I say that?
Absolutely.
Uh, Legal steroids, but it also costs money. So I'm not sure what the pricing is on that, but
Yeah.
I find that that's a good way to. It's so much easier to share.
Like, and I used, sorry for interrupting. I used Google Apps, or sorry, Google Classroom with my at my school this
Right.
past year when I was teaching, and it worked nicely. But I had done a whole bunch of workflow stuff with Doctopus and the class folders, G class folders, and things like that. So I had a good setup with that. So I think if you don't have a huge knowledge of Google Apps for education, but you wanted some type of like workflow for it, Google or the Google Classroom was really good. But I just heard about the Hapara, and I was like, oh my goodness, I was like, this is way better than Google Classroom. So if
Right.
you have access to it, I'd say I definitely recommend checking it out. So it's
Yes,
it's
and
it's a neat little thing.
yeah, and I mean I had to kind of because I had used Octopus in years past, or I guess the year past, but I had to kind of read up on it in case I got some questions because I kind of
Hmm.
forgot how to use it because
Yeah.
Apara is just so much. It's so easy, and it's
Yes.
yeah, it's really user friendly. But so anyway, so I share that with my students, so they get something like this, and then they put their name in it, and it's done. So now they have a document essentially, and their document might be something like I would get them to name it. Um, so for me, it'd be it's health and physical education in Ontario, Canada. So and then 2014, 2015, and then there's their document.
Hmm.
So now I know that they're there. It's all good to go. Um, and I can show you. No, we're not going to do that. I can show you kind of a template of what this is actually a real student's template, but I've just kind of put me as the student. So you have this document, and then what I've done is when I was starting, one of the first units we did was health-related fitness unit, and I made this kind of template, these tasks within this. Now, the problem with typing this in the document is when you share it, you cannot actually change it once you've shared. Like in terms of if you share it individually to each child, right? You have to go into each file and then change it. So you really have to know what you're doing. So you'll see that I didn't write out tasks for any of the other units because I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do. I just wanted to try this out. So within this, so they did all these tests. They inputted this, and I can talk about how they inputted it in a little bit. Um, I have some documents embedded in this for them to read about. I think that one's actually from Physical Educator. I think it talks about the components of fitness. So these right there. And then there's some peer feedback, and I'll talk about how you get this information here in a second. And then again, they go in and they bring in their, I mean, this is their information that they type in, SMART goals there. And then here's another assessment that they've done, and I will explain how this happens. And exactly, yeah. So anyways, so, and you'll see how the formatting has kind of changed as well. And then what happens is we can then, so for example, I actually remember on this one specifically, so what I might do is I might say, might leave a comment for my student. So I can, not sure why it's not happening. Okay, there we go. And I can just say to myself, and like, for example, they may not have put the date. So in the past, I've said, okay, remember to write a specific date. Good luck with achieving your goal. So something simple. And then, then they can come in and they can actually comment. So a few of these have been resolved, so they're hidden. And then there you go. So yeah, this seems like there's a lot of data here, and there kind of is. But what I really like about it is it's just a running record of what they've done throughout the year, right? Mm-hmm. So it's all here. Parent-teacher interviews, you can literally just show up with your computer and turn it around and say, here it is, like this is what they've done.
Which is so powerful to show people. Yeah. Oh, and that's huge.
And I think in years past, like especially even when I was in school, like there was nothing. Like it was like the kid's a good athlete, so he gets a good mark. Or, like there was no evidence, again, in my experience of, well, they did this well, and here's evidence of them doing it well.
Right. Have you ever shared your students' documents with the parents?
That's the problem with it is that to share it, they need to have a Google account, right? So that's been a problem. But the other issue is I'm kind of taking it this year as like the practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I've shared information from here.
Right.
Like they'll ask me, and then I'll just kind of be like, well, this is what's happening here, and this and that. So I can give them that feedback because it's right here. Mm-hmm. But obviously the students have access to this at all times.
Right.
And if they're at home, they can then direct it to their parents as well. So, but yes, that's next. I'm not sure what the best way of doing that is. That's still kind of in like my head of how do I pass this along to parents more effectively.
Right, because what I had done when I did sportfolios with my students, I had them, because I had the workflow that you kind of had set up too with the different folders and stuff, and I used Doctopus and a bunch of, I'd used G-Class folders, and I think I was getting into Doctopus, but I had, my students' portfolios, they had all done it using a Google site. So then they just shared the link with the parents, or, or the parents had access like that. But that was one of the requirements of our division was that, every student had an e-portfolio. So I was just like, well, I'll just do a sportfolio. Yeah. But I got my kids confused the way I did it because they had an e-portfolio and then they had a sportfolio for phys ed, which I should have just stuck with the e-portfolio. Keep it simple, folks. Keep it simple. I got too excited.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and that's cool that you said that because I'll talk a little bit about a site too that our upper school is using. I can just kind of show it and tell you, and another option of how you can track information, but we'll get to that in a bit. So so essentially, there's this portfolio. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, like, well, how or some of you, I'm sure, are wondering, like, so how does this information get there? Do they go into their document and just type some stuff, or what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
So now what happens is with this information, I will, sorry again. So let's use this as a template. So I have game types for grade 5. Let's say this is, let's say you've covered all 4 game types for TGFU, and you're just kind of very simple knowledge questions, like not deep thinking or anything. So you have this here. Now, maybe I'm getting too far ahead. Sorry. Making a form,
You're doing good. You're good.
Making a form. Go to Drive, New, More, Google Forms. Okay. So, no, that's not what I wanted. Sorry. Okay. Oh boy. There we go. All right. So here's your form. So again, with the form, I can add an item, and I actually didn't. I mean, I can just type in my question, and I have the option of going text, paragraph. The most I use is text, paragraph, and multiple choice. Text is usually going to be like a couple words. Paragraph is going to be more of a sentence, because if you go paragraph, you're going to get a big box. If you get this text, the kids can't see more than 2 words that they put in, so it's difficult. For these questions, though, like they're very similar questions, so I'm just going to go duplicate, and there you go. So then instead of handball, let's go with soccer or football. So, and you'll also notice that on my questions there's an asterisk there, so that's just signifying that that's a required question. Okay, so here's my form. Now my name. What I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to run an add-on on this. All right. So with my add-on, I'm actually going to run doc appender. So I have it because it's already there, but you can just go get add-on and then just search and get doc appender in there. Mm-hmm. So I'm now going to pick from a drive my target doc folder, and I've already selected one. So let's see here. So class 1, all right. So within class 1, I'm now going to, kind of waiting here. I gotta refresh the list, sorry. And then once I refresh the list, refresh the list again. It wouldn't let me pick name. Okay, still waiting. I'm so sorry. We're gonna run that again. It wouldn't let me do it because I had my name selected there. Mm-hmm. So.
And that's sometimes some of the things you run into. It's little finicky things like that you're kind of just like, why is this happening? And then all of a sudden you realize, you're like, oh, duh. So sometimes it just takes, it just takes a couple minutes to kind of figure things out. And once you get it, it's a quick little thing to do. So.
Yeah, so I'm not sure actually why. I've never had this happen before. So it's actually not giving me the name option, which is kind of weird. So anyways, I can show you on a different one, maybe.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. So that's usually what happens is you will get to this. I'll run an add-on here. Sorry. And I have a folder created, so all my students have their docs on that folder, and I can select the doc that I want all this information to go into. Okay, class 1. Next, refresh list again. I'm not sure. Oh my gosh. Anyways, I'll just pick class. So I'm going to save and populate the selected question. So once I do that, I now can I can select my list, but I'll get to it in just 1 second. I'm so sorry. So let's say I want their first name. Actually, I don't need their first name. I just want the activity, and this is kind of different because it's not what I want to use, but that's fine. And then you have this option. So I'm checking these questions here. Sorry, I'm going so fast. I'm checking these questions because this is what I want the information to show on my document. So these questions that I've asked. And this is a student-led conference thing, so my favorite unit in the PE this year has been, and then they're going to answer it. So you have an option here of separate bulleted lists, and that looks similar to, you saw the bulleted list on my on this portfolio here. It looks like this, simple bulleted list. And then you have the table. I like this personally. I think it looks pretty sharp. It's easy to read. So getting back now.
I was going to say, so Adam Levo was just saying that you need to choose the drop-down list, not the text box, and that might be what issue you're having there.
That's okay. That's perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
So I had. Sorry, what did he say? He's list, right?
Choose from list, the drop-down list, and not the text box, and then you should be able to get the name.
Sorry. Yep, that's the one.
See, but like I said, it's just little things like that, you know, if you click something wrong, it kind of like, you're just like, why isn't this happening? But really the nice thing about our phys ed community, right there, Adam was on it and was just like, you know, you just got to do this, this, and this. So it's just put it out there if you're on Twitter, or, you know, send one of us an email, and well, maybe not me because I haven't used this yet, but send Marcus or Adam Levo an email and they can totally help you out with it. So awesome.
So sorry, now it's going to work. So thanks, Adam, for that. So again, it's loading the questions. So I'm just going to go with separate vertical tables, and you can kind of see what this looks like. I like using the timestamp actually, because it then shows like actually when everything happened. I don't need to use the name because the name of the document is already there. Like, it's a bit redundant. And then I just enable. So it's done. Okay, so now what's going to happen is if I am, oops, sorry, I jumped the gun a bit. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to my, so there, you have all these automatically came up because these were in my folder. So I have 6 people in my class, so I'm done. Now when I go to a live form, what's going to happen here is the student will get to this form and they will select their name. So let's say Felipe comes in and he's getting everything, not so sure about baseball. And there we have it. So now he submits.
So do you have your students, one of the questions was, do you have your students fill out these forms during your phys ed class, or do you have them doing like for homework? Because you do teach, right, grades 3 to 5 elementary. So that was some other questions that some people had. So, you know, is this K to 6, or kind of when are you using this in your class?
So I can give you a few times. So my gym is quite small. So what I like to do is, let's say I'm doing a small, let's say I'm doing an Invasion Games unit or something, and what I might do is I'll split it so there's 2 games going on, so it's 3-on-3 or 4-on-4. My classes are generally like 20 kids. So there'll be 16 kids playing 4-on-4, or maybe even 3-on-3 depending. And while that's going on, I can have the students fill out this, and it shouldn't take any longer than 5 minutes. Like if it takes more than 5 minutes, like it's too much in my opinion.
Yep.
Or what I've done also in the past is if they're doing an invasion game, you give them a peer assessment task. So you give them a form, and they select the students. So on what we just did, they select the student's name that they're marking, and then they go down and they maybe fill in questions like, are they moving to open space? How are they treating their teammates? Like different questions like that, and just check questions, because the writing obviously takes a bit longer. Yeah. And then they say so and so was assessed by, and then they put their name and they submit it, and then it's done, and then that student gets that feedback. So it's I've also done I've actually had conversations about doing it more at home. I just find that they don't get done as much, in my opinion. But I like that idea too, because then it takes what's the well, there's a few things. I like them doing it at home because then, they're essentially they're more active in class, right? Because they're not sitting at an iPad or a device doing the questions. But I like doing it in class because the reflection is a little bit more authentic because it's just happened. It's not like this happened 2 days ago. I don't really remember what I was feeling or what happened, or so it's a bit more authentic in my opinion if it's done during. Um, but I'll kind of explain a bit more about how I actually set this up in my classroom too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I just wanted to actually show you that what I just did there. So
Right, and I was going to say there's some, a little bit of confusion with some of the things too, but we're going through this really fast, right? We could take a full hour just to show you step by step by step. There are a lot of great, if you would just type in Doctopus or Docapenda or anything, you'd find a lot of great YouTube videos that would take you step by step by step by step. So what
right,
Marcus is trying to do is just show his workflow of how this works, right? This really isn't to be like, hey, this is how you do this, this, and this. It's just to kind of say, this is what I have, this is kind of how I did it, and this is why I'm doing it. So there are a lot of great like YouTube videos, and maybe we'll try and post that in the resource document so that people can check those out later on, so you can go step by step by step through it. Because yeah, we are going through this very, very fast, but just to try and get to that workflow.
Yeah, and I apologize, yeah, because it's there's a lot going on, but it's and sometimes I forget like what people know and what they don't know.
Yeah.
And where everyone's
That's
at.
okay.
So this is the first problem I found when I was using Docapender. So I did that form, and it literally went straight to, so it went right to here. Okay, so all my information's here, and you're like, whoa, that looks crazy, right? Because it does. But what the trick is because the font I used up here was 48, the next font that you're going to use is going to be 48. So it's just kind of like something you have to play with a bit. But now you get this, like that looks pretty good, right? Like, I mean, there's the information right there.
Yeah, and that's your student's assessment right there. You could share that with a parent. You could show that that's your evidence of what the student knows. Like, that's perfect.
Yeah, and I mean, this isn't deep understanding. This is just, this is in the Ontario curriculum. They actually have TGFE principles within it, so this would be part of their learning objectives. So then you can just make a comment like, way to go for it. If you can give a mark if you want. I'm not really big on that, but just let them know that baseball is not that, or maybe have them give a thinking, see if they can come up with the answer for you in the comments, and then it's just an ongoing conversation. So yeah, and then what I like to do as well is at the end of the assessment, I just go up to insert and go horizontal line, and then there's my next time they fill out a form, it goes straight to there, and then it's just a running record, and when everything's happened. So February 21st, there it was. So anyways, that's kind of the gist of this portfolio in terms of what's happening. And then I don't think I talked, I'm getting ahead of myself, but in terms of the folders, was there any questions on that? There probably wasn't there?
I'm trying to look. I was gonna say there's a question about how many devices you have in your class.
Oh yeah, I'm lucky. I actually have I have 11 iPads in my class. So I have a 2-to-1 ratio, which is quite high. To say, like, you could also, if you had, I've also seen where there'll be computers set up like on benches like around the area, like, and they might do a form there, or they might do an assessment there, or a peer assessment. I've had students bring Chromebooks as well, if iPads weren't available. But it's not going to be 1-to-1. It might be one per group. So there might be five Chromebooks there for the whole lesson.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's sorry. And just the class 1. So I made a folder, class 1, and then within this, that shouldn't actually be there. So I put all their portfolios into this document. So you know how when I had that pull-down menu, they all came from here. So class 1. So when I clicked on it, I went class 1, and then all these students came up, and then I'm able to pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, and just a reminder, you were using Doc Appender, right? That was the
Yes,
add-on? Yeah.
Doc Appender, yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so that's what's going on there. I'm just gonna take a step back here, and I didn't mean to get into that so fast, that one, but I did.
It's okay. That's how things go. It's organic. You just go with it.
Right. So, okay, you know what? I'm gonna just kind of go over like, so you're probably wondering like, how do they get this information? Like, how do they get to the actual form? So, in my experience, what I like to do is if I have a form, if I have a form, I can just go to the view the live form. That's what I want to do here. And you'll notice that I don't have this checked off, require the York School login to view this form. And what happens with that is, again, it's time consuming because they actually have to type in their information, email address, all that stuff. And it takes a long time, I find. So I don't require them to sign in. Their sign in is they click their name on this. That's their sign in. And I find that works a lot quicker. Anyways, so I'm at my live form right now, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this, and I don't have it open right now, but I'm going to go to goo.gl. So this is how I do pretty much all of my my QR codes, which I believe is a up and coming. Well, it's actually not really up and coming. It's kind of more commonly used now. So I'm just going to paste it into here, and then I get my shortened URL, so I can use that for anyone to get to it. But what I like is I click on details, and I get my QR code right there. So then I just cut and paste this into a document or a Word doc, whatever you want to do. I then print it out, and I might label it like grade 5 TGFU game. And then once they've actually clicked it, you can actually see how many times it's been scanned. Like this stays on your account. Like it's always there, and I like this a lot. Then you can get, even if not like this is going to be that relevant, but you can see, oh, like, a few people in the States use this QR code, and it's, not like that's really useful for a classroom, but it's neat. I like this Google shortener. So that's what I do. And then what the students do is they then get a scan app on their iPad, and they literally scan the QR code, and they would then get something that looks like this. So then that comes right up on their iPad, and then that's it.
Yeah, and the nice thing is you could have like a station set up, off in the corner where you'd say, you'd just call the students one at a time. So it's not like you're taking the whole class. So if you only had one iPad, right, you could say, okay, Johnny, it's your turn, you go. So goes in, takes like 30 seconds for the kid, picks their name, clicks on the buttons, puts the iPad down, goes back to the next, back into the game, next kid comes up, right? So you could have it set up, or even if you're doing a circuit or, different stations, one of those stations could be where they're filling in a quick little form.
Right.
Rotate after 45 seconds, next kid comes in or next group comes in. So depending on how many iPads you have, you can make it work, whether you have one iPad or whether you have 8 to 11 to an iPad for every student. So, because, when I taught, I had one iPad. That was my teacher iPad, and then I had access to other iPads if I could book them out, if I remember to book them out early enough, right? So the nice thing about this is you can make it work for what you have.
Right, and also like in terms of your stations, it's also useful too if you have a YouTube video, just send it right to a YouTube video. So maybe you're doing something skill-based, or maybe you're doing a dance lesson and you want to expose them to a new type of dance. There's a 30-second clip, and then maybe it's like Bollywood dance or something, and they like, oh wow, and then maybe they have to mimic one of the moves, and then they come up with the rest of the dance. Like that's just something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I wanted to make that clear about how to actually get there because I didn't state that. So
I was going to say, we have a question. It says, could you use Google Classroom to populate the documents?
I
don't think so.
I don't really use Google Classroom. So
yeah, no, Google Classroom is more so where you can put an assignment up and a student can grab that assignment. You know, it can be personalized for that student. You know, you have access to it, but it won't. You won't be able to take like a Google form and have it populate your students' documents with Google Classroom. That's where these add-ons add that extra piece to it.
Yes, yeah. So I think my only experience, well, I'll show you a little bit about Google Classroom, what I've done, but yeah, it's mostly like marking, right? And like, yeah.
It's more so it's like a teacher website where students can get their assignments, kind of, is what I'd say it is.
It's almost like a social media thing too, in a sense, like for that classroom, like they're like a record of like
kind of like a hub for everybody to go to.
Yeah. Or like a web CT or whatever they call it. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Anything else? Like I mean, I have more. I got more going here, but
no, keep going. You're good.
Okay. All right. So I'm also going to show you another add-on in Forms that I like to use. It's not as time-consuming, I find, when using it. So I'm just going to add another. And so I'm a PYP teacher in the IB, and we have we follow essentially it's like character development. So like learner profile. So there's 10 learner profile words that we're trying to have the students and teachers and community show off, and just show that like this is what people do in life, and we're trying to establish that early. So what I've done is, for add-ons, is there's something called form values. So again, if you don't have it, you go to get add-ons and then just go form values. So I'm going to use this.
Sorry, I'm just going to jump in for a second too.
Okay.
So on his screen, what you see too when you go to add-ons, it automatically pops up because he's used it already. If you've never used this before, you're going to get like a little, almost like when you go to like your extensions or apps when you're in Chrome, you're going to see, and you might have to search for it or use the search bar to check it out. Right, so get add-ons, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so, sorry. And then what I'm going to do is I can actually edit, I'm just going to create or edit value lists like as if I haven't. Go here, it's going to take me to a sheet, and it has these lists here. So let's say that I want to, maybe I have a question like, which attitude did you show best in today's individual activity? So maybe they say appreciation, and then they say why they did that. Or game types. So you're always talking about game types. So maybe instead of typing out invasion target all the time, you simply just come here. Or there's a class. Maybe, so for example, you were assessing someone, and instead of typing your name, you can literally just go to the drop down and pick your name. So I'll kind of just show you how that works a little bit, so it makes it a bit more clear. So choose a question. Let's just go, sorry. So I'm just going to go attitude that you showed today. And oops. And they can, just going to refresh that, sorry. And there it is. And then from the list, attitudes is what I have there. So I'm just going to click that, submit. And then boom, I don't have to type all those words again. And I know like people that do teach the PYP,
we're kind of getting a little bit of an echo. I'm hearing an echo. I don't know if anybody else is hearing that too. I'm not sure why that's happening at all.
Okay. Is that better or no?
Huh. No, it's not.
Okay.
Let's see. So maybe we'll give it a second. I was going to say, in our little chat there, Adam Level was just saying how you can use Google Classroom to do that stuff in a sense, but it's not that Google Classroom does it. It's that you can use DocAppender with Google Classroom, like in tangent with them. So you can, but Google Classroom doesn't do that for you. You need the add-on to add into that stuff.
Right, right. Thanks for clarifying. So this is it right here. So essentially, there's your list, and you don't have to type it in. And PYP teachers, I don't know about you, but I can never remember the 10 learner profiles. Like I get maybe 8 or 9, and then I have to go think about what the other one is or try and find it. So this makes it a lot easier. I don't have to think about it. I just type it in. There's my list. So just another idea that you can add into your forms. I didn't get to Autocrat, but or Flubaroo. I only have about 9 minutes, so I'm gonna try to go fast here. I'm just gonna talk about what I did here for the doc. So you think you can dance. So I know that that's kind of become a thing in the PE community. Is this so you think you can dance? Joey Fife I think started it, or maybe I think he did anyway. And with this is what I've did with my docs is each group. So they were in a group of 4. Each group created a dance, and they all recorded like their rough draft of a dance. And then what I did is I took their file, put it on a doc, or put their video file, put it on a doc, and then I had questions for other students to actually give them feedback. So it kind of looked like this. So sorry, my computer's freezing. So there's their video. Here's this chart. So it was blank at one point. And group giving feedback, so they say which group they are, and then they say feedback about what did this group do well, what is something that they can work on. So then same thing, they scan a specific QR code for this group, and then this doc comes up, they watch the video, and then they give the feedback. And then it's almost like a carousel, so they're going from station to station. So it's not the most physically active lesson, but it's going to be very active in terms of, beneficial in terms of giving feedback, and it's a learning process. So just another way that I've used docs in my classroom, or I guess in my gymnasium. Flubaroo we didn't get to, but essentially this is just going to make things easy for your marking, and I like using it again it's a really quick feedback for me to show like, okay, they got 4 out of 5, or every student got this question wrong. Now I can take it up as a whole class and be like, okay, and just kind of go over that one question. So it's even good formatively just to see, like if every kid's getting all the questions right, then we're not going to be learning that. We're going to be learning something different because it's too easy for them. Autocrat is, I think in the past I've seen it used as certificates, so maybe intramurals, they might get this, again, this is an add-on on Sheets, and they might get something like a certificate for participating in intramurals. What I've done with this is I've done it where it's a student-led conference, and I had the students actually fill in questions on a form that then created a doc that magically kind of just said like to their parents what we're doing for this student-led conference. And I just trying to see if I have it available, but again, effective. I thought it was pretty effective in terms of getting the point across to parents. Like, it looked good for one, and it was also a good reflection on their learning on the student learning for that year, or most of the year anyway. So actually, if I can just see it, maybe it's. So yeah, it looks like this. You'll see like merges in here. You see the merge signs here. I'll show you. So so you'll ask questions like, so your first name, what's your last name? Again, in a form, you're going to ask these questions: first name, last name, class, and they fill it in, and then automatically it's going to populate. So it'll be like, Marcus Down, class 3A. And then a question might be about the learner profile, and they'll answer that, and they'll come up, and so on. And it's, again, it's a nice way of getting this to look sharp rather than, I think back to those duotangs where kids are writing on it, and it doesn't really present itself overly well, in my opinion. Okay, so trying to roll.
So we have about 5 more minutes here.
Yes.
So, and then I was going to say what we can do is we can keep the questions and the conversation going on the back channel. Cool. And then we'll have to stop. I have to get on with Jody and get ready for the next session. But yeah, you have 5 more minutes, so keep going.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to, sites, I didn't really talk about it much, but I know, Naomi, you were talking about how you've used sites, and here's just a template that my upper school is using. And I haven't actually got into this yet. This is kind of in the plan for later. So you can make a blank template for if you're making a site, or you can go to actually browsing and looking at what other people have done. I'm not going to show you that now, though. And this is kind of what our school has come up with, and it's just right. This is what it is. Essentially, I would say it's really heavily a fitness journal. But my goal would be to get grade 3, 4, and 5 into this area. Just one second, sorry. Okay, so and then so yeah, that's pretty much it right there. And you can kind of, you see all the drop downs here. But the thing about making a site is you need to know exactly what you're putting on it before you publish it. Otherwise, you have to go in and change every kid's site. So if we're going to use this, you just go click Use Template, and then you change the name of the site. And then just lastly, with Google Classroom, and sorry, I'm just gonna, my daughter's just right here, just one second, I'm so sorry.
Can you hold on, and then I'll give you. Get up.
Sorry, my daughter has joined the party. So just for the classroom, I'm not really going to show you too much, but essentially what I've done with this is you can click on this, and this is a DPA online bin, and it's a sheet essentially, and it's just got all these activities that different teachers have populated with activities that they can do for DPA or cold days or whatnot. So take a look, and why we use Classroom was just to kind of show teachers the power of Classroom and how you can use it. And it was also a nice place for like a common area for all the teachers to be to discuss things, rather than on a Google Doc or a sheet. Sometimes they might get lost, you know, people can't find it. Go to the Google Classroom, you click on the DPA class that we set up, and everyone's there. So I found that worked well. So just please take a look at that, and if you have any suggestions, feel free to add to it. And then I took this from Sylvia Duckworth from Crescent School in Toronto, and this is kind of something that you can look into if you're really just getting started. And this is where I was, opened a Google account a couple years ago, and now you know, I've gone to one summit, you know, all these things. There's a lot in there, and I think just kind of use this as a basis of like, okay, I'm going to take step 2 now. I'm going to start using Google Docs, and it's a good visual, and I think it, for the most part, is pretty truthful in terms of the steps to becoming I guess a Google certified teacher, educator, trainer. So it's really nice. I like that. So thank you, Sylvia, for letting me use that too. And last but not least, if you can go to this, and I know there's a lot of sessions going on, but if you can go to this and just fill it out really quickly, that would be amazing. Yeah, it's just a really quick feedback / tool, and you'll receive something in your inbox, and it's just something that I didn't actually get to talk about today, but you'll see the power of Google. And sorry, it's 11 o'clock, so I need to back away now. Sorry.
Awesome, thank you, Marcus. Sorry, I'm hearing echo right now for the past like 10 minutes. So I'm just like, I have no idea what's happening. So I'm just like, I think I can jump in. So thank you very much for doing that. I'm going to share my screen, and then I'm going to pop up here. I don't know if people can see this here. So if you want to just pause your screen here, or you can scan this QR code or type in this bit.ly link, and then that'll be like our conference feedback survey. So now I know the majority of you that are watching this morning are going to watch the second session too, so don't worry about filling this out right now. Once you're done the session, or once you're done the summit, then feel free to fill that out. So I just thought I'd share that with you, and you can go back and just pause that screen. So I just want to say thank you so much, Marcus, for the presentation. There's a lot of great information there, and I know everybody took a lot out of it. So thank you so much, and we'll stop the broadcast. So we really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and sorry for
Absolutely. All right, see everybody.
seats 1101. My bad. Thank you again.